are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity. Because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse Mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. If this is your first time listening to the Norse Mentality, my name is Andy Lewis. With me here is Cody Whitley, and this whole podcast is designed to help you stack victories every day, climb to the highest peaks of success, whatever success looks like for you, and ultimately reach your truest potential before your time here on Earth is done. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about getting out of your head, getting out of your own way, and kind of breaking this cycle that you might be stuck in. In the past, this was the turning point for me as far as personal development goes and really creating a life and identity for myself that I am now very proud of. And it was back in 2019. I was going through a very, very rough patch. And that was the reason for it is my mind at all times was just going. And it was always with negative shit. And this is how it had been my entire life, always thinking the worst about everyone and everything. And I stumbled across The Power of Now, a book by Eckhart Tolle.
I just finished it.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay. It is top 5 best books I will probably ever read in my entire life. What did you think about it?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic, especially for the high price of $11 on Amazon.com.
That's the beautiful part about books is you can go get any book and you're just tapping into this person's conscious stream. They're giving you all this information that could have a profound effect on your life for $11 and some time. But reading The Power of Now really helped me understand the concept of being present. Prior to that, I always thought it was just a bunch of hippie shit and I didn't want anything to do with it. I thought it was silly. I was like, why would I want to be present? Like, I need to be living in the future. I need to always be living in the future. That way I can accomplish what I want to and all that stuff. And I just didn't understand it. But that book really helped simplify it for me. But what it mostly did was it helped me realize that I was stuck in this endless cycle of negativity, and it was because of my thoughts. And it was then that I also realized through meditation and stuff like that, that I could separate myself from these thoughts. And if I was able to just kind of watch them, detach from them, and let them go, I got some relief. Now, it didn't happen overnight, of course. Like, it took months and months of just diving into this as far as I could. And maybe it was just for a second or two, but each second that I got some relief, I began to feel better and I began to get clarity. And I've been kind of observing people lately in a different way. And in the past, I was definitely more judgmental and hateful and stuff like that. And I still can be very judgmental at times. And that's something I'm probably always going to work on. But I have a lot more compassion for people nowadays. And the reason for that is because I've realized that we're all messed up. We're all fucked up in the head. That is the human condition. And whenever you realize that and you're like, I'm messed up, you're messed up, we're all messed up in our own different way. But the reason we are messed up is because of our minds. We do not have control over it. We spiral. We have this infinite soundtrack playing. You know, if you're listening to a song and you have that song on repeat and it's just going and going and going and going, that is what our thoughts are, especially negative thoughts. We love to harp on negative things instead of positive things. We can have an amazing day, but let one little thing happen that we didn't want it to, and all of a sudden, everything goes to shit. And then we can't sleep at night, and we're just laying in bed. We might be pissed off at someone. We might be pissed off at ourselves. We might be in this whole victim mentality where, you know, we're not getting what we want. We want to blame external factors instead of ourselves. It's a very vicious cycle, but it is a cycle, and it is a cycle that you can break with the right tools available. Now, like I said, back in 2019, when I was able to kind of break free of this, or at least start learning how to, the very first thing I did, and this is what I recommend everyone listening do this, if this is something that you're struggling with, is get off of social media for a minimum of 1 week. I did it for 9 months. I deleted all social media, and it was the most freeing experience of my life. I still have daydreams about doing it again, but it really did help me. And it has helped me for numerous reasons. And this is still something I do about once a quarter. I just did it, actually. We got back from Sweden and Iceland. I deleted everything for 2 weeks. I call it a dopamine reset, but it goes beyond that as well. Like, I needed to get my head right. I needed to make sure that all of my objectives were clear and I had a good plan of attack of how I was going to get there. I needed to really focus on Norse. I needed to focus on my family, and I needed to focus on myself because honestly, I was kind of in a bad spot. But it's because of that. Whenever I was traveling and stuff, I wasn't present as much as I would have liked to be. We were always doing a bunch of stuff, and I was present in those moments, but I wasn't ever taking the time to check in with myself. And because of that, I spiraled more and more and more until I was like, okay, I need to get a grip on this. Deleted social media.
Especially since social media is very, highlight reel. It comes with a lot of you comparing yourself to others and falling. In your mind, you're telling yourself you're falling short because you haven't accomplished whatever this person that you follow has. If you are struggling with deleting social media, at least change your perspective on it. Stop following a bunch of bullshit pages that provide no value, because in reality, social media is a fantastic thing. We've talked about this in previous episodes. It allows you to connect with people all over the world instantly. If you can switch your perspective on that, you stop looking at it as almost like this mindless, this provides me no value kind of concept, and you'll kind of start looking for pages that you really resonate with.
I agree 100% that it can be very beneficial. I mean, that's something we've talked about a lot too. But are you in the place where you can take that on? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
If we're struggling mentally and we have this infinite negative soundtrack playing and we're always distracted, and that's why I say delete social media and entertainment in general, external entertainment and stuff like TV and whatnot, it's because you are distracted. Well, if you're distracted, even if it is with positive things, even if you are learning something or whatever, you are still distracted. You need to check in with yourself. You need to really do some work on your internal environment. We can't do that if we are distracting ourselves with other things. And the main reason that I deleted this last go around was I was meditating. And while I was meditating, I kept thinking about shit that I saw on social media, and it pissed me off. It fucking infuriated me. I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, I need to be focusing on this stuff. I need to be focusing on myself. I need to be focusing on the business. I need to be figuring out some other aspects of life. And instead, I'm sitting here thinking about some bullshit. Even though it wasn't negative, I was still thinking about something on social media when that was the least of my concern. Social media is not the real world. It is a bullshit made up world that we have made, and it can be beneficial, but at the same time, it is straight distractions. It's a pure distraction. So if you are like dealing with shit and you need to get it right, we need to start eliminating distractions. That way we can deal with it. We need to turn off Netflix. We need to turn off social media. You don't have to delete your account and all that shit, but just delete it off your phone. And that's going to be rough, but we need to get down into a normal level again. We need to ground ourselves in the present moment. When we are on social media or when we are distracted by TV or whatever, we are not grounded anymore. We are just existing, distracted, worrying about someone else's life, allowing these person's words and ideas and all this shit to influence ours. And then while we're sleeping, we're doing the same shit. If I'm meditating and I'm in like a pretty deep meditative state and I start thinking about this shit, what that tells me is that what I saw is now in my subconscious, because that's what you're doing. When you get into a deep meditative state, you're in theta or whatever, you are going into your subconscious. And those thoughts that come up during meditation, when you are able to like really slow your breath, slow your heart rate, and just relax, you are going into your subconscious. And those thoughts that come up, are your subconscious thoughts. Well, your subconscious thoughts control the majority of your behaviors and your actions throughout the day. Do I want my behaviors and actions to be a direct reflection of someone else's that I saw on social media, especially if I'm dealing with shit? No, like, I don't want anything to do with that. So that was the main reason that I deleted it. And it's just because I realized I'm thinking about this shit when I should be thinking about my life, not someone else's life, my life.
You also, in a distracted state, you were very vulnerable, which is part of the reason that a lot of, our main news outlets and the narrative is pushed to keep you distracted.
And that's the main reason to get off of it, right? And it's because we are staying up to date with all of this shit going on in the rest of the world. It has never been like that, and it was not supposed to be like that. Up until 100 years ago, or even the past 50 years, we had no idea really what the fuck was going on. And if we did find out about it, it was months after it had already ended probably. But now we know every little thing going on everywhere. And what that does is it creates a very, very negative picture of existence itself. When in reality, existence is beautiful if you allow it to be. But if you are constantly throwing all of this negative bullshit into your head, that is literally being shoved down your throat to make you controllable because it initiates fear inside you. Well, when you are fearful, you are controllable. Who are you controlled by? That's for you to figure out. But we should never live in that state. The only time I want to be scared of something going on is if it is in front of me, right? Because that's the only thing that matters. If something is happening on the other side of the world that I have no control over and it's not going to impact me anyways, does it suck for the people on that side of the world? Absolutely. But I have my own shit going on this side. I wish them the best over there, dealing with whatever they're dealing with. If there was some way that I could help, absolutely. But the reality is that we can't. There are how many people on this planet?
I think we just toppled like 8 billion.
8 billion, right. Focus on yourself. Especially like if you have your own shit to work on, which we all do. Focus on yourself. Focus on your immediate environment, the people around you, your family and stuff like that, your local community. Focus on what you can control. But if you are barely keeping your shit together as it is, the only thing you need to be focusing on is yourself. That way you can show up as your best version. And maybe, just maybe, if you get your shit together enough, you can actually help. But until then, don't fucking worry about all this other shit that is going on.
Bringing Eckhart Tolle back into the picture, since I finished The Power of Now, I am about halfway through A New Earth. And that's something that he talks about in that book. It's if you really want to change the world, you have to start with you.
Right.
Because we start with you, and then it bleeds into your circle, and then it bleeds into, like, it's almost like a fractal. There's a single point, it goes forward, and then it branches and branches and branches, which is how you create true lasting change.
Yeah. And you have to focus on yourself first in order to make that happen. Like, you have a responsibility to. And because the purpose of this episode, if you are stuck in your head and you have this constant soundtrack playing that is not serving you, your number one priority right now is to break that cycle. That does not happen overnight. You can catch relief overnight, but when you wake up, it could very well be happening again. I mean, how many times have you laid down to sleep and you've just been dealing with so much shit, and you're like, you're able to let go of it enough just to get to sleep, right? And then you wake up, and as soon as your eyes open, it's right back. You're right back into that negative train of thought. So then the rest of that day is going to be the same thing. Okay, I have to break this, but that is the thing that we need to focus on, is breaking this. If we know that we have these negative patterns and these negative thoughts and all these other things that are dictating our life and who we are acting as in this current moment, then our only priority is to break that cycle and do whatever we need to do. I mean, we have other responsibilities, of course. If you're a parent, you need to, like, you take the back seat and you take care of your kid in that moment. But then as soon as you can, you get back to you. If you have a job, like, you have an obligation to show up for that job, put in the work to the best of your ability. That way you can continue to survive. That's why we have jobs. It's a need of survival and also purpose and stuff. But you have to do that. But like, whatever extra time you have, you need to be putting that into you, fixing yourself. We cannot do that if we're taking the little bit of extra time that we have to scroll on social media.
I would be very skeptical about these, like the self-help community and overnight fixes. Because if this is something that you've been doing subconsciously for a decade, over and over and over, and that's how you've just made it through every day without checking in and figuring out what the issue is causing this habit, you can't expect it to be fixed overnight, and it's not going to. And anything that does give you that sense of overnight fix is nothing but the ego defending itself.
Right.
It's a facade of your ego telling you that it's fixed. We don't need to work on this anymore because it doesn't serve the ego to be fixed.
Right. And it's also a matter of what we talked about in the last episode, where when it comes to self-improvement, there's so much shit out there saying that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Whenever you are constantly looking for something, like you're grasping for anything to try to get some relief, which I understand. Like if you're in a rough spot, if you're down low, like you just want to do anything to get a little bit of relief. But the majority of the shit that you're going to find on the internet and social media and influencers, or even books for that matter, those are not actually going to fix it to a high degree. And what I mean by that is it's not going to have the biggest impact possible. I mean, yeah, this might help a little bit. Doing yoga, do some yoga and you'll feel better. I mean, yeah, you might feel a little bit better, but doing yoga is not going to fix the problem.
It's a nice little addition.
Right. Go work out. Yeah, like go work out for sure. And that's going to be the next thing we talk about is physical activity. But either way, all these little tips and shit are not actually going to fix it. What's going to fix it is you taking the time to detach from everything else and look at yourself. Start working on yourself. And we can only do that when we detach from everything else and then go inward. What the fuck is going on here? Start asking yourself these hard questions. Why am I at this state? Why is my life going in the opposite direction? I want to be going this way, but instead I just keep going this way. It's probably something that you're doing. And I can guarantee you it has something to do with the soundtrack that you're playing in your mind at all times because it's not serving you.
The awareness is imperative here. Like once you become aware of what you're doing and whatever that habit behavior is, whatever it's causing, the awareness is priceless.
And once you become aware of something once, you start becoming aware of it all of the time. And then that's how you slowly start breaking it, because what these are they are patterns. They are behaviors that you've been doing your entire life properly. And that's why you are thinking this way. So what we have to do here is we have to reprogram our mind. That's all the mind is. It's a computer. It's the most advanced computer that will probably ever exist. And it is inside our head. And it is extremely powerful. But if we are feeding it the wrong information and we are allowing it to continue running off the same program, we're going to continue having the same existence that we have right now. And it's not one that is in our best interest. So we need to break the cycle. We need to start changing the program. And the only way that we do that is through self-awareness. Discover the habits, the patterns and stuff like that you are currently stuck in. And then once you discover that, then it's a lot easier to start fixing it, because whenever it happens again, which it will, you go, okay, oh, there it is. Well, do I want to respond in the same way that I have in the past? Or maybe I should try something else because this old way is not helping me. What should I do instead? Then you do it once and then you get triggered again. Okay, cool. Here we are again. What do we need to do? Well, this actually worked a little bit better for me last time, so let me do this again. And then over time, you are reprogramming, you're developing new habits of how you deal with situations that would have been rough in the past. And then 6 months to a year later, it's no longer even a concern. And this is something that you may have been dealing with your entire life. And if you were just consistently trying to be self-aware in the moment and fix it in the moment and handle it in a different way, maybe even it's as small as just letting something go where in the past you would have fucking raged about it. If you can do that over time, over and over again through repetition, it may take 1,000 repetitions, but what else are you going to be doing with your time here besides working on yourself and becoming the best version of yourself? Like, what else is there to do?
That is the goal.
That is the goal.
Yeah,
like, you're fucked right now, and the goal is to get a little bit more unfucked.
We try to overcomplicate it when the bare bones is that. How do I become a better me? And how do I impact those around me when I do become a better version of myself? And
someone on social media is not going to be able to tell you that. Only you can discover that for yourself. So stop trying to find all these different tools and tricks and shortcuts and all this shit. It doesn't exist. You need to observe yourself and you need to figure out what the fuck is going on, and then you need to come up with a plan to do that. Now, delete all social media. We've got that across. It only took about 20 minutes, but there we go. Now, the next thing that I would do is start taking daily walks without your phone. The reason for that is because it is eliminating distractions. And whenever we are walking, we are also activating both parts of our brain, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, which is going to allow us to think more logically. Across the board, we're going to have a clearer head. We're going to think more logically. We're not distracted, but at the same time, we're not just sitting there not doing anything and going crazy. Like we're moving. We're moving. And because we are doing some sort of physical activity, and we're just kind of processing what we have going on inside of our head, that's going to start bringing you relief. I mean, studies have shown that that's what it does. Whenever you are out in nature and you're looking all over the place, your eyes are going to the left, your eyes are going to the right, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking way off into the distance. What you are doing inside your brain is you are processing information at a rapid speed. It's the same thing as sleeping, right? Like when we are sleeping and we are in REM, rapid eye movement, when we are doing that, that is when we are processing information throughout the day. You can do that in real time when you go out on walks, preferably in nature. So luckily that one didn't take 20 minutes, but that's pretty much the point there, right? Like that's a pretty easy one. And the rest of them are pretty easy. So you guys don't have to be like, holy shit, this is going to be a 3-hour episode. It's not. But daily walks without your phone are going to be huge. Now, the amount of time that you have to do that, that's up to you. I'd say at least 20 minutes a day, preferably at the end of the day, but maybe start off in the morning that way. Just whenever you can get it in, get it in. Next thing, physical activity. The reason I say physical activity is because when you are really exerting yourself during physical activity, you are forced to be in the present moment and you can't think about all this other shit. If we want to break the cycle, the first thing is we have to catch some sort of relief right now. And that means just stopping it, even for a few seconds. We have to focus on something else. Physical activity like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, a really hard workout, mountain biking, running, hiking, whatever it is, if you're doing something where you're really having to exert yourself, you are not able to think about anything else. You are present right now, just trying to put one foot in front of the other to get to the finish line. And that is why it feels so good, is because finally our mind has shut the fuck up and we are just existing. We are being as we're supposed to be, but instead we always have this internal chatter going on and it's always about a bunch of stupid shit. When you really just like beat your own ass to the point where you force your mind to shut the hell up, all of a sudden you get relief.
Those have been some of my most spiritual leveling up experiences.
Absolutely.
Especially from hiking. I've hit some hikes where my legs have just locked up and I'm nowhere near my car. And then I got a little worried. Now I just laugh. I know I'm going to make it to the car.
Of course.
But if you want to just level up your confidence and figure out who you are, push yourself physically to the most absolute limit.
And you can do this as easily as sprinting.
Yeah, the goal here, and this is where I think a lot of the current fitness industry has lost sight. The goal is not this extreme. The goal doesn't matter. The movement matters. You moving your body is a win. Not you're a failure because you failed some top set that you have programmed. You moved your body.
Yeah, it's a win.
That is the win.
It's a victory for sure. And that's what we're doing here. I mean, we also have to look at the intention behind the exercise itself. I mean, are we just going to the gym because we want to build muscle? That's a great reason. But if we're going into the gym or pursuing any activity for that matter, where it's like, okay, like I just want to exert myself as much as possible to get my brain to shut up so I can get a little bit of clarity on what I need to do. It doesn't matter what you do. You could go sprint up and down the road, and I promise you 10 minutes of that and you're going to be in rough shape. And by rough shape, I mean like your mind isn't going to be thinking.
You're going to be on the ground.
Yeah, you're going to be on the ground, which is where honestly like you want to be. There's nothing better than that, honestly. Like, and I think I experienced it on hikes a lot, especially in Norway. I remember specifically on like an 18-hour hike, half of that hike was just me not thinking.
You kind of just go into autopilot.
Right, and it's beautiful. You enter into a flow state, but you're not even doing anything, and that's what's so awesome about it. But then I've definitely experienced it during Muay Thai. Muay Thai has like brought it to me for sure. And then same with jiu-jitsu too, but I'd say Muay Thai, like some of those sessions I was just completely gone, and it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, so physical activity, that's something that you can do too. I mean, same thing back in 2019 when I was dealing with this shit, that was one of the tools I implemented all the time was I would just go run and sprint. And I remember it being December, it was cold as shit outside. My lungs felt like it was going to explode because of the cold air, and I was just sprinting as much as I could, as long as I could, and then I would stop, walk, try to catch my breath, feeling like my lungs were just being stabbed with 1,000 needles. And then once I was able to do it again, and that's when I first started realizing it too, was I would sprint and then I wasn't thinking. And then afterwards, same thing. And then all of a sudden, once I started to kind of regain composure or whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden those thoughts would start coming back up. And it was like, as soon as those thoughts came out, I was like, nope, fuck you. And then off I went again, right? Like it was just constantly like, nope. But I needed that because I needed to break the cycle of thought.
You're kind of putting yourself in a survival mode where you're shifting your energy to the physicality and not the thought process.
Well, that's what we have to think about too, is what is this? Like thoughts are energy, and we need to be able to like get this energy moving. We need to get this energy out in some sort of way, and physical activity is a great way to do that. I don't think depression and a lot of the shit that we deal with nowadays, at least at such a high level, I don't think it existed thousands of years ago, because people were actually like living life in a way that we were supposed to, and they didn't have time to focus on stupid shit that doesn't really matter. The only thing they worried about was survival, and because they were worried about survival and they didn't know if they were going to be able to next week or not, they were just putting in the work. They were always doing something that brought some sort of fulfillment, purpose, whatever it was, and because of like they didn't really have a lot of that, especially when it comes to physical activity. Like no job really did not consist of some sort of physical activity. Now, our survival is 100% guaranteed, pretty much, as long as you just don't be a dumbass. And then, of course, like, you know, you can get sick and stuff like that. But overall, like, everyone listening to this be like, yeah, I'll probably be alive next week. Hopefully. Something bad could happen. But either way, like, it's not like it was 1,000 years ago where it's like, some shit could happen tomorrow. Something really bad. Or even this winter, like the crops fail and we're all screwed. So like we don't have time to sit here and think about stupid shit. We just need to make sure the crops are good, that we have plenty of harvest. That way we can get through this winter.
Well, existing required physical activity. You had to, I mean, at the very least, go outside and chop wood to build a fire up until not that long ago.
Or go walk to gather food.
Like walk 5 miles to the nearest town to get something.
Yeah, or just go down to the river to get some water.
Just the most basic forms of survival required physical activity, where in the current, reality we've created, it doesn't work like that.
You don't have to do anything to survive.
You have to seek it out.
Yeah, like you can literally sit on your couch and not get up and you can survive.
You go press a few buttons on the wall on your thermostat and you have heat. Besides going outside and literally cutting down a tree, chopping it up into little smaller pieces and throwing it in a furnace to heat your house.
And that's why, man, it's just like when it comes to physical activity, even if you go to the gym for 45 minutes a day, it's nothing in comparison to what humans have always done. And because of that, I think that their quality of life and their overall happiness and the control over their mind was a lot more. Like, I know they don't, because they didn't have as many distractions and constant information. We have so much shit being shoved down our throats at all times. No wonder our minds are all over the place. But anyways, moving on with that.
Hey guys, if you're anything like me, you're balls to the wall from the time you wake up until you go to bed. And at some point in the day, you're going to start losing energy and motivation. That's why I always take a scoop of Focus around noon. It helps me get dialed back in, and it's pretty much coffee on steroids. If you want to grab a container for yourself, go to norsefitness.co and use the code podcast15 to save 15% on Focus today.
The next thing I would say is writing. The reason I say writing is, for one, it will help break your train of thought. If you're writing, I don't know, anything. Just say if you're in business and you're writing a Instagram post or a blog post or an email or something like that. Like if you're just writing about something else, that can kind of, you're forced to shift your thought process into that. And that, once again, like what we're doing here is we're trying to catch relief. We're trying to break the cycle. So writing about something else will do that. Now, the other end of that is you're writing about the shit going on in your head. You're getting it out of your head and onto paper, journaling. That's all journaling is. It's just you take a piece of paper, you take a pen, and you just start writing. We're not sitting here trying to write a novel or anything like that. We're just literally taking our thoughts and getting them out of our head. I even do this with planning. I'll do a brain dump where I just, everything that is going on, like I need to do this, I need to do this. I just need to get it out on paper. And then I can take a step back and be like, okay, cool. Like this is everything I need to get done. What are the top priorities here? When can I do this? And I instantly get relief from that and I don't feel as overwhelmed. Well, we can do the same thing just by journaling down our thoughts, just by writing down our thoughts. So we can write something that has nothing to do with what we're currently dealing with, just to kind of change the overall like direction of our thoughts. Or we can just tackle it head on. Okay, this is what's going on inside my head. This is what I'm dealing with. This is how I'm feeling. I need to get it out of my head and put it on the paper. So I'm going to journal.
If you have issues with awareness in your head, this is a great way to gain that. Just write whatever you're thinking, let it go, get it all out, go back and reread it.
But that's like, what's going on.
This is what's going on in my head. It's a physical piece of paper with your thoughts on it. Besides just trying to play it over in your head, you have something to look at, you have something to read, and you can break it down right in front of your face physically and be like, okay, well, this is what I was. Go ahead and break it down. This is what I was thinking. You know, this is the problem I'm having. It brings awareness straight out of your head in front of your face.
Right, because if there's so much stuff going on up there, and you can't condense it down, you can't organize it. Like you need to get it out, and you need to do what you said. Is like look at it and be like, oh, like this is what's going on. I know that I've been like a wreck lately. I don't know why I've been a wreck, but I've just been all over the damn place, and apparently this is what I've been all over the damn place with. So what is going on here? Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Well, what can I do? What can I do to fix this? Now that I know what the problem is because I wrote it out, I got it out of my head, I have a overview of it now. This is what's going on. This is what I can do to fix that. But just writing in general will make you feel better. And like I said, you're not writing a novel. You're not trying to be a pro. No one else is going to read this. And then after you get done, throw it away or burn it if you want. Like it doesn't matter. The main thing here is we're getting it out of our head onto paper. That way we can look at it and maybe have a little more self-awareness about what is going on. And we can get some relief from that. The next thing is learning. If you start learning about something, and if you can really focus on that and direct your attention towards this thing that you're learning, then you're going to break the cycle of thought again. Say, you know, like even watching a documentary or something. Well, if I'm dealing with this and I just can't get my thoughts out of it, whatever, but there's this documentary about something that I find really interesting. We'll say Vikings or some shit, you know, like any medieval thing that will do it for me. All of a sudden I'm thinking about this and I'm no longer thinking about all this shit that I have been. Right? Like we're breaking the train of thought, but we're doing it in a beneficial way. We're not polluting our mind with a bunch of bullshit. We are just changing the direction of our thoughts where we're learning about something else. And it could be learning about something that you're dealing with. A lot of people are struggling because of money. They're worried about paying the next bill and all this stuff, which really like that is the main cause of stress for most people. And I understand that. There have been times where I've definitely done that as well. But you're never going to get clarity on that unless you can stop the thought process of worry and come up with a solution. Because if you're worrying, you're not going to come up with a solution. You have to be able to detach yourself from the emotion of worry and then reapproach it and be like, okay, how can I make money? What do I need to do to change my situation? But if you're operating at this lower level of fear and all this other shit, you're not going to come up with it.
Yeah, any state of survival does not allow growth to prosper.
No, like we have to raise our overall like mood and all that stuff. We have to get to a higher state. And you're going to have a very hard time getting there if you're stuck at a lower one. We need to do something that's going to cause us to elevate ourselves. And if we want to elevate ourselves to a higher state, then learning something new will absolutely do that because learning causes you to have confidence. There's no way that you can learn something new and not feel a little bit better about yourself because that means that you're advancing, you're improving. And if you're improving, then you're going to feel good. Well, if we have now went from fear to joy, and courage and pride even. Like if you can raise yourself to a new energy level with a better, more positive emotion, which is going to come with more positive thoughts, then you're getting yourself out of the state of fear or guilt or whatever you're currently struggling with. And you're going to feel better. And that's going to allow you to think more clearly to get out of the situation that you're in. And like I said, learning will do that, because there's no way that you can learn something and not feel better about yourself, because even if it's just 10 minutes of learning, you are improving. You have just a little bit more tools for your arsenal, and that's a good feeling. But it's getting us out of the state and getting us into a more positive one. Now, the next thing here, and this is going to be a no-brainer, we're not going to harp on it a lot, but it's having a good diet. The food that you eat will affect how you feel. It's also going to affect how you feel mentally and everything else. If we're only eating pleasure foods, dessert, pizza, all of this different shit, then we're constantly going to be seeking out comfort, and there's never enough of it. That's the thing that we have to kind of break the cycle of here too, is thinking that there always needs to be more. You don't need any more. Like, you have everything that you need right now. As long as you have basic food, you have shelter, nowadays transportation too, like, you're solid, right? Like, but whenever you're constantly seeking out more pleasure, either if it's through food, social media, drugs, whatever it is, alcohol, you're always going to be wanting more. You're always going to be wanting more. Like, we need to minimize everything that we have. Keep your diet as basic as possible. Meat, vegetables, fruit, good carbs like potatoes, stuff like that. We're not only going to feel better, but we are also going to be getting a new baseline, right? And we're also going to be improving our dopamine reservoir, because we're not seeking out pleasure and all this stuff. Like, we're going to be kind of building up that dopamine reservoir. Well, the more of that you have, just your overall satisfaction of life goes up. You just feel better, right? And that's why deleting social media is another thing too. Like, I said that I do that for a dopamine detox. I do that especially after traveling and going on vacation, because that whole vacation was me kind of just letting go, enjoying myself, which is awesome. You need to do that every once in a while. But at the same time, I was completely depleted of dopamine. And I can know that because I start looking at life very bland. I'm just like, okay, cool, this is happening. Whereas on a normal day-to-day basis, my diet's pretty strict. I make sure that I work out. I make sure that I do things that make me uncomfortable. I make sure that I work. I'm not necessarily chasing dopamine ever. But because of that, my overall satisfaction for life and what I'm grateful for is there. So when we can make sure that we have a good diet, we're going to feel better, but we're also not going to be constantly seeking out new things. We're going to be minimizing what we need.
It's very scientifically proven that there is a direct link called the gut-brain axis between your digestive system and your neurological system.
Right.
That's why when you eat shitty foods on a consistent basis, it ruins your gut flora, and that's why you get the mental fog. If there's any, consolation to eat better, it's so you think better.
Right.
You think clearer. You think in a way that isn't harming where you are at your current baseline.
Exactly. And if the whole point here is to think better, have more clarity, feel better, start eating better. Simple as that. Moving on to the next thing. Talk it out with someone. This kind of goes back to journaling, but if we keep these thoughts inside of our head, they'll just continue to go and go and go and go and go. And a lot of times we don't want to share things with other people. I know I'm terrible about this because I know that everyone is dealing with their own shit. I'm like, everything that I deal with are things that I have taken on for myself. If I'm stressed out because of business, I don't talk to people about business stress because I'm the one that decided to start a business. And I also know that they have their own shit going on. Or if I'm dealing with something in general, I don't want to burden someone else with my shit. But at the same time, if I was able to talk it out and if I put in the effort to do so, because I know I have so many amazing people around me that are willing to just hear me out and let me talk. And also, I've hired therapists and shit in the past for this. I know that it helps me tremendously. I could be dealing with something for a month straight and it's just in my head, and I can't get it to stop. And it's getting worse and worse and worse, and I'm spiraling downwards. And as soon as I actually just talk to someone about it, all of a sudden I feel so much better. I have so much more clarity. I know exactly what needs to get done, and I have broken the cycle. So that's why I say just talk it out with someone. If you have a close friend that isn't going to be fucking judgmental and all of this shit, or even necessarily try to help you with it, because sometimes that's not what you need. You just need to talk. And their advice might not be good. But either way, there's someone to talk to, or go get a therapist. Now, I know that there is a lot of negative outlooks when it comes to getting a therapist. But here's the thing. If you want to become better and you want to level up and you want to become the best version of yourself, you need to do whatever the fuck it takes to do that. And if getting a therapist to talk to will help you become a better person, then you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but to your family and your friends to do that. The only reason that we think it's bad is because society has painted a picture of it being weak. Oh, you're weak. You can't work on your own shit.
You got to have someone else talk you through it.
You got to have someone else talk you through it.
Listen,
yeah, the people who are saying that, they're more fucked than you are. I promise you. Their ego is so fucking bad that they're willing to continue spiraling downwards, continue having the same miserable existence just so they don't have to say that they talked to someone. Yeah, I talked to someone today. Now I feel better. Sick. Like, that's the reality of it. I hired a therapist. I talked my shit out. And now I feel better. That's the reality of it. There's nothing bad about it.
Most people can't constructively admit their flaws, especially to themselves. Like, most people can't admit to themselves where they're falling short or where they're fucking up.
And that's why, honestly, if it's a good therapist, they will call you out on your shit and they will let you know. But most importantly, they're going to let you talk first. They're going to ask you what you think. And then they might sprinkle that in there. And it doesn't even matter if they're really good or not. Like, sometimes finding a hard therapist is very difficult. But really, like, you just need to talk. Like, if you're in this situation, you just need someone to talk to, and maybe you don't want to burden your partner, you don't want to burden your friends, you don't want to burden your parents, because you know everyone else has something going on. Go pay someone $100 just to talk, and you will feel better. That's the whole point here that we're trying to get across, is we need tools in our arsenal that will allow us to break the cycle, to get out of our own head. That way we can start making improvements. And if you find a therapist and you're able to talk to that person, then just go do it. Don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. You don't have to tell anyone either. That's the thing. Like, no one has to know. You don't have to go and tell your girlfriend or whatever, your friend, yeah, I got a therapist today. It's really none of their fucking business.
It's not on a public record to where like someone's going to search, oh, did Andy Lewis talk to a therapist yesterday? It's not public record. No one's going to fucking know. And it doesn't matter if they fucking do.
No, it doesn't. That's the thing. It does not matter what other people think. If you are taking the steps to become a better person and this is something that you think will help you, go give it a shot. And if someone has something to say about it and it's negative, cut them out of your life, because they don't give a shit if you improve or not anyways. Like, someone that cares about you would be like, yeah, like, go do whatever you need to do. I support you. That's how you know you have a good person in your corner. Now, if you go tell your friend, and I'm speaking to men here mostly, if you go tell your bro, yeah, man, I got a therapist today to help me work on this. Like, me and the missus have been having trouble. I'm just like in a very rough place. I've been dealing with a lot of shit. So I went and I got a therapist, hoping it'll help. A good bro will be like, fuck yeah, man, that's awesome. I hope it helps. If you need anything, let me know. If your friend is saying something opposite of that, or you even think your friend will say something other than that, it's time to start reevaluating who your friends are. Same with partner. If me and my girlfriend, when we do have issues, that has came up numerous times. We end up getting a couples coach, just like, okay, well, we're doing okay, but like, we can always do better. Let's go get a coach. I have a therapist also that I work with here and there when I need it. And I let her know, okay, like, this is a pattern that I was unaware of. I've been dealing with a lot of shit lately as well that I know that's impacting our relationship. I'm going to go talk to Cody, who's my therapist for the past like 3 years, on and off. if Felicia would have been like, oh, that makes you fucking weak. What are you talking about? Like, why are you going to go get a therapist? Like, what kind of man needs a therapist? Shit like that. Like, if your partner's talking to you like that as well, it's time to reevaluate that too. Like, whoever is in your corner needs to be supportive of any effort that you take to become a better person.
If that's met with any kind of resistance, that resistance usually comes from a reflection of that person. It is their kind of cop-out to not want to better themselves and not fix their own shit.
Right. So then they try to pass it on to you.
Yeah. They're just like, oh, why do you need to be doing that? Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Because they're not willing to do it themselves.
To do it themselves.
Right. And that's what you need to recognize too. If someone starts being all judgmental and shit over you taking the effort to improve yourself, then they're just pissed off at themselves because they haven't done it yet. Fuck them.
Or they aren't able to. And that's the way to keep them comfortable, is to keep you down.
Yeah. And
at their level, whatever low vibrational level they're.
And you can't be dealing with that shit. Like, if you're trying to work on yourself, you don't have time or energy available to surround yourself with people like that. You need to be talking to people that support you, that are uplifting you, and that is trying to help you better yourself. And also you do that for them as well. Now, the next thing, actually, where are we at? 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and kind of wrap this up. So all of those are very basic things. And that's what we're trying to focus on here. What are things that we can do every day that are natural that can help us with this? And everything that we listed, you don't need to go buy. You don't need to devote a lot of time to. You don't have to learn to do it. And that's the beautiful part about it, is you don't have to learn meditation to do this stuff. Like, meditation is great, especially for this purpose. But meditation is something that you have to practice. And with repetition, you get better at it. And the more repetition that you put in, the easier things get and the more benefits you see from it. But everything that we listed, deleting social media, going on daily walks, physical activity, writing, learning, eating good food, talking it out, those are all things that we can do right now with zero effort. We just do it.
And most of the things are free.
They're all free. They're all free. Like, every single thing that we listed is free besides eating good food. But what you're going to learn if you are eating good food is that it's actually a lot cheaper than eating shit food.
You look at it as an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment in yourself. And at the end of the day, like, we always need to be investing in ourselves. And the food that we eat is the best investment. And then what we do for our mental health is the second best investment. And everything that we listed on this episode is that. Now, for extra credit work, you're tackling this stuff, you just want to do something a little bit more. I would say ice baths, ice showers. Same thing, it forces you to be present. Whenever you get in a tub of cold ass water, all thoughts go away. You get relief, right? That's what we're looking for here. We just want to break the cycle and get some relief. Cold water exposure will do that for you. Sauna will help as well. For this purpose, I don't think it's as good as cold water therapy. Now, next, breath work. A lot of times we just need to reset the nervous system. We need to break the train of thought to get relief. And focusing on the breath will help you do that. Doing something like Wim Hof style breathing, which you can find YouTube tutorials on, just go to YouTube, type in Wim Hof breathing. And the first and second thing are literally 11 to 12 minute tutorials of him guiding you through it. And it's extremely easy to follow. But that is a great way to do that because you're also taxing yourself as well. Like, the breath retention part, you just focus on surviving. That's it. But cold water exposure, breath work, meditation, I know I already said it, but if you really want to learn how to detach yourself from your thoughts, break the cycle, see what's going on, gain more self-awareness, and everything else that we talked about, meditation will help you do that, especially mindfulness meditation, which is just you sitting there, focusing on your breath, observing your thoughts, letting them go, all of this good stuff. That will help you do it. But like I said, that takes repetition. If you're looking for a very easy way to learn that, and this is how I learned how to do it for at least the first 3 months of learning meditation, it was Headspace. The Headspace app. Yeah. So download the Headspace app. That will help you. They have like 5-minute options, 10-minute options, 15-minute options. Same thing as the Wim Hof one. It's guided. You're just listening to someone. They're telling you what to do. And through repetition of that, you will start to feel better and you'll get better at it. But yeah, anyways, We hope this episode has been beneficial. Hopefully you have some new tools for your arsenal that will help you break this negative cycle that you are in and get some clarity about what you need to do moving forward. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. If you're interested in grabbing something for yourself, you can go to norsefitness.co and use the code podcast15 to save 15% on your next order.